That clock's always slow.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And I can get out of bed now. It's a killer.
Yes,
Oh,
I
you
know.
been sick?
Huh?
You been sick?
Yes.
2 weeks.
Yeah, that's why she wasn't here last time.
Aren't you sweet?
The streamer's on.
Yeah.
Okay,
Just FYI.
thank you. Welcome to the Fraser Park Public Utility District meeting of March 8th at 6 p.m. It is now 6 p.m. We will say the Pledge of Allegiance.
Ready? Begin.
Well, you never give me time to get.
Oh, sorry. Are you with us? Are you with us now?
Okay,
Are you
yes.
standing? Okay, good. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Director Garcia.
Thank you, Director Schoenberg.
Note to all of us as well as to the public, we are being video recorded and it is being streamed live on YouTube and on our website. So if you do not want to be on camera, you've got to go to the back of the room. Okay. Roll call of directors. Let's see if I can make us all directors tonight. Director Schoenberg.
Here.
Director Nyman.
Here.
Director Garcia.
Here.
Director Gibson.
Here.
And Director Kelling is here. All present and accounted for. Fantastic. Do we need to change the agenda any?
Maybe just flip flop 8 and 9. I don't know when Linda's gonna be here.
She said as soon as she can, she would try to do it quick.
Okay.
Okay, well, we'll reach that when we get there. Anything
Actually,
else?
I'd like. Oh no, because we really need her here though for 9 too.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Makes sense.
Actually,
Director Schoenberg.
I think we're gonna go through this pretty quickly. So can we maybe do 10 first? Move 10 in front of 8 and 9. Or what, is that something you could do? Or is 10 gonna
Well,
take a while?
Not a while, but
No need to have them sit through it.
No, I know, but they need to wait for Linda to be here. If she's, I mean, we'd like her to be here.
yeah, she said her meeting was gonna be short and she'd cut out as soon as she could, so I think she'll be here quick. I don't know if I wanna move 10 up, cause it's
Oh,
Well, why don't we just, go forward, and then if we need to make a
Adjust, we
change, we
can-
can adjust then.
okay with that.
You guys don't mind hanging out, do you?
No, this gets us out of the office. We're gonna enjoy the show in the meantime.
Okay. Public comments. Any public comments? Please limit it to 5 minutes.
Bill?
Bill? Nothing? Okay. Report of officers. The president has nothing. Vice president.
I have nothing.
Secretary.
I can't remember. I think we reported all this stuff at the last meeting, so I don't think anything's happened
Okay.
since then as far as bank stuff or anything.
You
like
did. I read it in the notes.
that. Okay.
Okay, treasurer.
We have, enough money to make our April 15th loan payment for our loans. So I will be making a transfer tonight with Lisa. But we don't need to borrow any money from any of our reserve accounts, so, we seem to have enough to make it this time. It's good news.
And member at large.
Nothing.
Okay. Board member initiatives. I'm not sure what that is.
As if you have something new.
Oh.
I have nothing.
You can discuss it to have it put on the agenda, but it doesn't have to. Nothing has to happen in that spot, but it's a place where we could, if we wanted to, bring something up to be placed on the following agenda.
Okay, I would like to say something to that then. This is the appropriate time. The repair out here went?
The main line replacement,
Yeah.
while we're working on it as time permits, but we've made it past the pine tree in front of Richards, that big pine tree. We got a couple more sticks in this week. So as time permits, we add one or two, so probably the week after meter reads, we'll get a lot of it done at that point.
How many feet would you say you have in now?
Close to 300. I think it was 600 total,
Okay.
and I'm guessing we're about halfway. And the hard part, or not the hard part, but the most technical part happened already.
Cool.
And then getting past that tree without ripping out roots was a deal.
Major.
So, yeah, and hopefully we're fine with that. One of the problems is that if it starts to show signs of stress, then we'll have to take it down. But it's grown right out there in the road, right next to our pipe, so it's not really our fault, but we'll see. I have high hopes.
Okay.
Perfect.
Okay, yeah, because I know that was kind of an ongoing thing, and I was just wondering how that was going. Okay. Managers report.
You gonna go around the other initiative,
Oh,
other directors?
Other,
I don't have an initiative, but I wanted to make the board know that, aware that I won't be here the month of June.
the whole month?
Yes,
Okay.
I'm retiring and I'll be on extended vacation.
Nice.
It's awesome.
Congratulations.
So make it still 3 months away, you never know.
Well, I guess I should let the board know that I won't be here in the April meeting, and probably, I may or may not be here for the first week in May, depending upon my surgery. So, yeah, I'm having neck surgery on the 20th of April,
Okay.
And my birthday.
4/20.
I mean something entirely different.
Oh.
Sometimes.
That might be part of the rehab.
Go there.
Okay. Have anything?
No, you can move on to the manager's report.
Okay, managers report.
All right, we got the official approval for a fee reduction for the State Water Resource Control Board.
Yay.
Brahma did the math, and it's several $1,000s cheaper a year.
Went from like 7,000 down to $2,700.
So that's a big savings, so we got that.
Thank you.
I don't know if you guys would have to vote on this. I don't believe so, but you guys approved a new service for a 3/4 inch service. The lady's contractor is hinting around she may need to go to a 1 inch. It won't be a problem for us to supply a 1 inch. Does that matter to you guys, whether you approved a 3/4 or a 1 inch?
Why?
Will serve? Or can I just change the $8,000 and you guys can just, mention that you would?
But
It doesn't need to be voted on, so-
did you inform them of the rate difference?
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah, and I'm not even positive she's gonna need it. I need to explain to her what the county told us,
Mhm.
because the county implies that she won't need it. But, if she ends up needing it, I need to have an answer of whether or not it's gonna take, a board decision or if we
Well,
can
you already
do
approved
it.
it, should be,
Cool,
pay the fees and move forward.
perfect.
Well, but he has to change it, so I think it'd be better for us to just go ahead and okay him switching it
Absolutely.
as a motion, and that way it's all
Perfect.
legit. And
So it's handled now, yeah.
All right.
so can I see it for a
Yep.
second?
It's the one at the bottom part of the bottom part of Alcott and Elm.
And that doesn't change anything as far as water flow or anything
Nope.
like that.
No, plenty of
Okay,
water.
so I'd like to move.
It's just that they have a bigger capacity system, but they'll be paying for that because they have a
Right.
1 inch meter.
Director Schoenberg.
I'd like to move that we okay a previously approved motion for lot address 260-067-07-00-4, which is 20 for, I can't read this, Raina and Steve Stageman, to go ahead and okay either the 3/4 inch or the 1 inch
I second
line
that.
to be.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Or- Thanks. Then unfortunately, I got some,
Motion carried.
No, motion carried. 5-0-0.
unfortunately, I got some bad news. One of our employees, slid on some ice, up by McGee Tank and, wiped out the side of one of the brand new trucks. We're gonna be, voting, it's a voting thing in new business later on, but there's an accident, he's backing down, hits a little patch of ice and slid into a stump, and the stump just raked across the side of the truck. You guys can see this if you guys wanna see it.
I saw that earlier.
Yeah,
I was wondering what happened.
The same employee, he was so upset, he was very, very upset with himself, but, accidents happen. So, the vote is gonna be on whether or not we wanna, pay for it ourselves to fix it, or if we wanna turn it into insurance. I know sometimes that's a issue with wanting to keep our rates down.
Let's ask our insurance professional.
I don't know what our deductible is. I don't know with JPIA how that works.
I believe, I'll have to check too, I believe it's $1,000.
And I don't know if it goes against the driver individually.
Yeah, I don't know. And, luckily he was on private property and not any other car involved, so that helps, but.
I mean, if you're driving, like if you're a truck driver and you do something like in a semi, it doesn't go against your record. But I just don't know. But I could look into it.
I'm gonna guess that it probably, I'll check the details, but I think it would behoove us just to pay for it, but apparently nowadays they don't even do body work, they just reskin things with body panels, the side of the bed of the truck. I think they just unbolt it and bolt a new one on there. They come through or try to actually do body work on it.
What guy?
Director Garcia.
How about Director Schoenberg?
How about Director Schomburg?
What, did you say what the deductible was? I missed that.
Oh, I don't know, I said I have to check, I thought it was $1,000.
In our disclosures on the confirmation, it says for licensed vehicles, the deductible is $500.
Oh, okay.
It seems like we might want to. I mean, we'd have to find out what the
I mean, it's probably
repercussions
$1,000
are,
to
but
replace that, right?
At least more
Yeah,
than
more
that.
than that.
Way
Yeah, it's more than that.
It's probably like
My only
40.
thought was, the number of claims, but we haven't had that many claims, so that shouldn't be a problem, really. The only claims we've had that people didn't follow through with them, one guy that had the hillside washout, he defaulted on replying to them with any kind of information or invoices, so.
I don't even know how it applies in a commercial policy, commercial auto policy, about, how many claims you have.
Oh, okay.
But I'll contact JPIA
That would be
in my
great.
spare time,
While you're resting.
Well, if you want to, if you don't want to, I have time to call them, it's easy to do it, but I just,
Well, if you have time,
Yeah.
because I'm 40 hours a week a day. so-
Yeah, I'll just email her, and I'll just email her the pictures and letters, because I
Yeah,
had everybody sign.
and
the
she
letter.
can tell you,
Yeah.
if it counts against us. On commercial policies, it might not.
And, yeah, and the only claim we had of any sort was
A theft, right?
the theft, yeah.
Yeah, and I think this is different, but I could be wrong.
Cool. Yeah, I'll email him on Monday and ask him.
Anything else?
Just to cover the manager's report, we had 8 after-hours call-outs in February. Everyone but one was because of frozen pipes. One of them was a service line leak that neither myself or Billy could find. So I don't know what they were seeing, but they were swearing their water was gushing out of their meter box, and we got there, the ground was dry, so I don't know what they were looking at. So, And other than that, I'm done.
Okay.
Assistant managers,
Assistant, not manager.
assistant,
To the manager.
assistant to the manager. Administrative assistant.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Just one update ahead of even asking the board for permission to go to the board secretary clerk conference that I do every year. I did go ahead and submit the scholarship application into the organization to see if I get it. They did already approve it, so I will not have to pay the $900 conference fee
Nice.
when I ask for it. That won't be an issue.
Awesome.
Yeah. It'll just be travel again. which
It'll
is
just be
cheap.
travel.
For which one?
For the board secretary,
It's one where she gets all this good information she
Yeah.
brings back to us.
I figured get the scholarship in early, that way they haven't given out all the money yet. And then you have a better chance of being approved.
Good looking out.
Thank you.
Okay. Ad hoc committees, Sigma. I have not done anything, have you? Lisa?
Not since we last talked, no.
How about the budget?
Is there anything that, Bill has on that's new information?
Negative.
Budget, where it shouldn't even really be on there until I mean, it's fine on there, but we were waiting for the auditor.
Okay. The depreciation of assets,
Has not been changed at this point.
We haven't had any time to come in and work on
and Lake of the Woods transfer agreement.
Is still waiting on,
that. Scott.
the
There.
lawyer for Lake of the Woods. And we have other MOUs, but we don't have those yet
That's all.
either.
Yeah,
And we have to vote on that tonight, so we don't
Yes.
have an ad hoc for that yet.
no. Okay. Financial business, accounts payable and financial information. Linda.
Excuse me, I got a cold, so. The total cash is $1,058,395.64. We do have April 15th is coming up, so we do need to make a transfer to the USDA loan payment account for $49,618.75. And Lisa, I already gave you the printout showing that.
I had one question on that because you said the balance in the operating as of October 12th, 17.
It's February 28th, 18.
This is the wrong date.
You just have the wrong date on there. So
Mine has the right date.
On mine, it has the right date.
No,
under the
on
note,
this little note that.
where it says
we
the
copied.
note, you say the balance in operating account as of, mine says as of
Oh,
October 12th.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I did a template. That was based on the last report I did, and I forgot to delete those lines, so I'm sorry.
Right, so it's actually higher than that currently, and we're
Right.
fine.
So that 151 isn't correct?
No,
The-
230.
The actual,
No,
the
Is
total of all
the
the
230.
operating count, that was the balance of the operating count as of 10/12/17, so that's
Okay.
not applicable for this report.
And this balance here does not include what we're deducting out today.
No, those payments were made in March, so they'll be on the March report,
Okay.
okay?
But we're okay to go ahead and make the transfer then of
Yes.
the, we'll
Yeah.
do that tonight.
I just, I've always given it to you guys at the last minute,
Yeah,
and so I didn't want to do that anymore, so
Right.
that's why I had it ready today, so you would know.
okay.
Okay, and then, wanted to let you know, we finally got our $500 cash back savings program. Finally, we got $500.
Oh, from
It
the
hit the
credit
account.
card?
And then we did get a new connection. It happened in February, but that check was returned, but we're in the process of getting that paid back. So I just wanted you to know he'll probably hit in March. I don't know the status of that. I just know that it was deposited in February, came out in February, because the check was returned by the bank. And
That one was
is
for
all
what,
I
how
have.
much was that one for a grant?
7,800.
For 7,800, okay.
So that's why you won't see it on the report for February. It'll show up in March. Okay? And that's it. And the bills are normal bills. There's nothing different that I noticed. So.
Director Schoenberg.
Are there other current assets? Did it say inventory before?
Uh-huh. Yeah, I haven't changed any of that.
Wow.
Remember,
Now,
we
it will
haven't
change
changed,
once we get the audit report and I get back the accountant's copy that shows all of the journal entries that the auditors made, and some of these figures will be changing.
well, I make a, oh, go ahead.
But some of it has changed because the bad debt loss isn't category that came up after we talked to the auditors.
No, but I haven't made any of those journal entries. The auditors were gonna be making those journal entries.
Okay.
So it'll show up in March, is what you're saying.
Right.
Well, I make a motion that we pay our bills.
Director Schoenberg.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried 500. Okay. Discussion and vote on 2017 audited financial statements. Presented by, you guys must be BHK.
And Kate.
Yep. Make it easy on you so you don't have to pronounce all the names.
I put it in drafts unless you have a different.
And did you guys have a chance to peek through the draft like we've done the last couple of years? Did you get an opportunity to review it before we present it? Huh?
I haven't.
All right.
Yeah, I did.
All right, first of all, thank you guys again for the opportunity to work with the district. We're here to present the June 30, 2017 draft of the audited financial statements for the district. If you turn to page 1, just real quick, we always like to comment on the audit report. Per the audit report, it is what we consider a clean audit opinion. We didn't come across any issues during the course of the audit that gave us any concern that, figures and amounts aren't reported accurately. So it's a clean audit opinion. In our opinion, everything's fairly stated. So I wanted to point that out. And that's on page 1 and 2. That's the audit report. I'm actually going to skip to page 9 because page 3 through 8 is management's discussion and analysis. That's mainly a summarizing of the financial statements where management also has the opportunity to point out any comments regarding the attached financials. So I want to focus more on the detailed financials. So if you turn to page 9, page 9 is the statements of net position, similar to a balance sheet. So essentially it's the balance sheet of the district. If you're looking at the assets of the district, as of June 30th, 2017, current assets, you can see cash is slightly down, but correspondingly the restricted cash and cash equivalents about midway down the page is also up. So net cash is actually up about $15,000, which we'll also touch on that on the cash flow statement. Accounts receivable you can see has increased versus the prior year. That's mainly due to the rate increase that started January 1 of 17. So this fiscal year has half a year with that rate increase. So accounts receivable is mainly a timing difference at the end of the month, but rates are also up. So you'll also see on the revenue side of things that revenues have increased because of the rate increase. Grants receivables down slightly. That's strictly a timing of making requests to the grant funds. Inventory is up. The last 2 years, there wasn't inventories have been adjusted as of June 30, 17. So like you were mentioning, Director Schoenberg, I'm not sure what the report you're looking at, but it will be adjusted when we give the adjustments to Linda. And that is one of the adjustments. Prepaid expenses pretty minimal. Total current assets are up a little less than 20,000 versus the prior year at 830,000. Restricted cash and cash equivalents, mainly the cash accounts set up for the various debt obligations. That is up versus last year a little more than 30,000, up to 190,000. Yeah.
And that's because we did a new reserve, the
Correct.
emergency reserve, correct?
Correct. And then capital assets is slightly down, and that's more of a function of depreciation. Included in that 5,350,000 figure, that's net of depreciation. So for this current fiscal year, there's depreciation of about 335,000, and there were fixed asset additions of about 206,000. So the net differential is that decrease. So total assets in the district is 6,374,000, about 70,000 less versus last year at the same time. Liabilities pretty consistent. You've got the current maturities of the long-term debt, which is 55,000. Accounts payable and accrued expenses, mainly timing. At the end of the year, that's slightly down. And then you have the long-term debt, which has decreased by the current portion from the prior year, decreased by 55,000. Net position is essentially what you would think of as the equity, the net equity of the district. So the bulk of it is invested in capital assets, which is essentially the capital assets up above net of the debt. So that's the 2,238,000 figure. Restricted should tie directly above to the restricted cash. And then unrestricted is the remaining net equity of the district.
Those are like our general fund,
Yeah.
Like your retained earnings.
retained earnings.
If not, if you'd like to turn to page 10. That's the statements of revenues, expenses, and changes in net position. You could think of it as the income statement, the profit and loss. As I had mentioned, you can see the increase on water sales, residential, 828,000 versus 671,000 last year. Again, due to the profit, so a half year of that increase is reflected in that increase. Business water sales is as well is up from 57,000 to 90,000. The other operating income connections are up versus last year, as well as standby assessments and the other services. So total revenue, operating revenues versus last year is just short of $1 million, 997,000. So it's up about 220,000 versus last year. Yes, Director Schoenberg.
I just making sure, so what's considered other services?
Do you have the detail on that?
I don't have it on me. It's primarily made up of the administrative fees. So activations for new services, shut-off fees, variety of
Late fees.
late fees, that kind
So
of.
everything other than our new connection fees
Correct,
and
correct.
standby.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sort of a catch-all for the remaining
Correct.
revenue. On the operating expenses, pumping power, mainly utility cost is up, 103,000 versus 77,000.
Just so you know though, that's pumping power and maintenance.
It's mostly
The
maintenance.
power
'cause
hasn't
power's-
gone up drastically, but the
Exactly.
amount of maintenance we've been doing is up.
Yeah.
So that's what you guys would anticipate when you want more work done, so. But the power hasn't gone up drastically, just so you know.
Yeah, I've been watching it, it hasn't changed
No.
that much.
Yeah.
maintenance repairs as well on our system?
Yeah, I believe so. It's everything to do with repairs, the mainline stuff, and it's only, what's the difference,
Yeah, it's about 25,000.
about 25,000, and we spent 13,000 just.
On this,
Yeah, well, you know, that's not last fiscal year, but still, we've been doing more maintenance, building.
right, we did
again,
some new
that stuff
dog
all-
houses and.
That stuff all adds to this, so I've been keeping the pumping power cost down, so.
And equipment supplies maintenance, that's slightly up versus last year. You can see general and administrative is up to 608,000 versus 542. The bulk of that 66,000 increase is an increase in wages of about 40,000 versus the prior fiscal year. And then depreciation relatively consistent, slightly up. So the operating loss of the district for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2017 is a $90,000 loss. Last year was 198,000, so you can see how the impact of at least a half year of those increased water rates is definitely helping.
Yeah.
And also keep in mind, depreciation is a non-cash expense. That's not cash outlay of the district. On non-operating revenues, grant revenue, that's just the bulk of the grant revenue was accessed last year, so there's a sharp decrease in that. It was 95,000 in the current fiscal year. On the remaining items, pretty consistent from year to year. There was not a big swing from any of the other categories. So the bottom line change in net position, which you can think of as net income or net loss of the district, was $3,700 for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 17, versus 202,000 profit last year. But if you
But
look,
that's because we had the grants.
it's because of the grant revenue. So if you take out the grant revenue and if you take out depreciation, which is a non-cash expense, if you take those two line items out, the current fiscal year there's a profit of 235,000 versus a profit of 78,000 in the prior year. Yes.
I just want to note to the other directors that the interest income, when we talk about that at a later time in this agenda, if you note how low it is, it's pretty outrageous considering how much money we have.
Well, and that's,
in there.
I know with districts there's certain limitations on what you can invest in, but still, that's like a bank account paying you
Well,
a
we're-
100th of a percent. or
We're
something.
talking about a safe,
Yeah.
moving to a little bit better interest
Yes.
account that's still completely covered, that's FDIC, but
Yes.
in a different bank, so
Yeah.
that's why I'm noting it to them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because my biggest concern is that we wouldn't be covered if they went under and we have all our accounts with them.
Definitely. I know there's other programs out there like Cedars where you can invest in one financial institution, but it spreads it amongst different CD accounts. Now, if you need availability and access or liquidity, if liquidity is an issue, but if you have a good amount of funds that you don't need ready access to, or you can invest in 6-month CDs or something of that nature, I think Mission Bank does it. There's a few banks that do it. It's called Cedars.
How do you spell it?
It's an acronym, and don't quote me on what the acronym stands for, but it's CDARS. They call it Cedars.
So yeah, 'cause
It's a way to invest in one bank, but they do the job of branching it out amongst different banks to where you're covered with FDIC,
Okay.
and it gives you.
So it's not higher. It's
yeah,
totally
it's definitely
safe, but it's higher interest.
It might be a 1/4% or a 1/2%, but it's what you're getting now. If there's per her report, if there's $1 million in cash and you're getting $128 in interest for the year, that means
It's ridiculous.
it's
I
probably
mean, there's
just
some
a
other
bank account.
safer ones right now that are like 1.5 and 2 almost. So yeah.
Yeah, so there is options out there.
Linda?
Do you know if the Cedars gives you one brokerage statement for all those CDs?
Yeah,
Perfect.
yeah, it gives you one statement. It lumps it all, but that's the reason for the program. It allows you to stay with one financial institution, and they do the job of making sure you're FDIC covered by spreading it to other institutions that they work with. So it's and I can let you know. I know Mission Bank does it, but I think there's a few other banks that do it. Some of them got away from it, but there are still a good amount of banks that have that program. So it's one option that's out there.
I mean, there may not even be an issue yet with some of our accounts that we would want to do that with, that we're not touching, that are currently money market accounts.
Yeah.
They don't have that much money. I mean, they're all under 250,000.
Okay, so they're under the
So
coverage.
if we were at different bank institutions with a couple of them, we would be fine too.
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's a per institution limitation.
You know, I'm sure the bank down here will be upset with us, but
What's the bank you have here locally? Is it just a
California
local?
Bank and Trust. No,
Okay.
it's big. It's Zion.
Zion National Bank, and,
okay.
and what they told us is that all of our money would be covered. The separate accounts would be covered, and but they disagreed. So
No, it is
I-
covered. It's not covered FDIC. It's
not
covered in a
covered.
different way. It's what do you call that?
It's maybe it's collateralized, by
Collateralized,
the bank's
yes, it's collateralized.
bond indentures or something, but it's not FDIC.
Right, but it earns so little that it's kind of silly to keep some of the smaller, the just ones that we don't touch, the money market accounts.
Yeah.
well, hopefully
Yeah.
the FDIC pays better than it does Social Security.
Now, FDIC is just the federal insurance to make sure if something catastrophic
Yeah.
happens, you
right.
don't lose your
And
money.
right now, is it still at 250,000 or is it?
It's still at 250. There's certain investment accounts that they've elevated to 500,000, but I'm pretty sure it's still 250.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's essentially the profit and loss or the statement of net income of the district. If you want to turn to page 11, this is the statement of cash flows, which kind of translates that bottom line into a cash flow, as I kind of gave a hint at when we add back depreciation, et cetera. So you can see receipts from customers are up due to the increased rates. Payments for suppliers, pretty steady. You know, the mention of the increase in wages, you can see that 40,000 increase in payments to employees. So net cash provided by operating activities is 179,000 for this most recent fiscal year end, June 30, versus 44,000 the prior year. So you can see the benefit of the increased rates. As we stated, there's interest income, which didn't change. Non-capital financing, mainly receipts from assessments and other income items, slightly increased over the last year up to 81,000. And then the capital and the financing transactions, you can see the grant revenue that was collected during the year, payment of debt, and the purchase of the capital assets that I had mentioned earlier. So overall, net increase in cash and cash equivalents, you know, consisting of operating cash as well as the restricted cash, is an increase in 14,000 for the fiscal year ending June 30th versus 56,000 the prior year. Yes.
And what was the 11,500? I don't remember.
God, do you remember there was a sale of an asset? I'm not sure what it was though. Was it a sale or was
It
there
was
insurance?
it was in multiple things, right?
I'd have to go check.
Oh, that was the insurance for the theft.
That might have been the
So that
insurance
just
proceeds.
that came under a sale.
Well, it's
okay.
proceeds.
No, because we got paid like $13,000.
Oh, 13. So what's that 11? Do you know? Do you
Well,
remember?
probably had some, we sold a tractor for.
So it was a
7.
couple items.
Yeah, and then would the trade-in on the trucks be counted as
Yes.
that?
Yes.
So the trade-in on the trucks is.
If they give you
probably
any trade-in value, they would be
Yeah.
recognized as
Okay, yeah, I
proceeds.
just didn't remember
Okay.
selling that much, but with trade in, it makes sense. Okay.
So total cash and cash equivalents at the end of the year, 858,000 versus the prior year of 843,000. Page 12 is just another version of the cash flow statement, but it focuses on the detail of operations. So the operating cash flow on the prior page is just more detailed, and that's where you can see the add back for depreciation, which is a non-cash item. So that gives you a little more of the detail on the generation of cash from operations. The remainder of the financials are essentially the same disclosures. The only thing I wanted to point out is that on page 26, historically the district, discloses the rates. So those are the new rates on page 26 of the financial. So it does state, the scheduled annual rates effective January 1st, 2017. So that has been updated in these financials due to the Prop 218 increase. Otherwise, the remainder of the disclosures are just, descriptive of mainly the balance sheet items.
Well, and then the employee wages, that's probably, we added a fourth person, so.
Yeah, it's gonna go up more this time.
Well, actually,
This was just
I didn't tell you, but we're gonna actually lose one of our guys. Danny's gonna go back home to Idaho with his family, so beginning of April, he's gonna be gone, and I'm not gonna replace him, so it's gonna drop back down again. So we'll just go back to a 3-person crew.
Okay.
How much of a notice did he give you?
Month. Yeah, so he's golden, so I told him I'll write him a letter and help him as much as I can, so. He just misses his family, so he wants to go home to his family.
Yep. I know.
Director Schomburg.
Quick question on page 22, is that, are those notes from, directly from the bond book, or is that you supplying that, Linda, or?
It's probably us pulling, I mean, those are the amortizations.
Oh, it's you pulling it
Yeah.
from what's,
From the bond
Business.
amortizations.
And it looks like it ties to the 1099 that we received every year too, because
Okay.
it figures.
Yeah, it gives you an idea of the obligation, you know, spread out annually to the eventual repayment of the total obligation by 2051.
Wow.
We'll all be gone by
I'll
then.
be dead by then. Oh.
I'm hoping I won't,
No, you'll still be around.
maybe.
Yeah.
I'm hoping I won't be working.
Yeah.
I won't be here presenting these, I don't think. But that's essentially the financials for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2017.
Well, hopefully I won't be on the board by then.
I was gonna say, if he is here presenting, it'll be a different set of people here.
Yes.
Director Schomburg.
so I just, you came in separately and offered some suggestions for us, and some of those are written out in an understandable manner, and I think some of the things that we're still very confused about. And do you have any other suggestions that you've written out? Because I know some years you give suggestions.
Yeah, some years we have a
and some-
management letter. We don't have a management letter that we're issuing this year. I mean, Scott can probably speak more to, you know, the experience during the audit. I mean, I think it's pretty straightforward and
We've had a
clean.
pretty good, clean audit this year. I didn't encounter any significant difficulties during the year, for this audit, and I think the changes that we proposed to you in terms of account classification are booked into this financial statement in a way that should provide clarity. If there are like any sort of like you wanted to look at something again later, I can provide you additional details too.
Because I know we had some questions, and I'm really tired tonight, so I don't have them just off the top of my head, but I know that we had talked about some stuff over the last couple of months, and we're really waiting for this in order to make some of those changes, and so I just want to make sure that Linda really understands all of the suggestions that were made, and that maybe we even have something so that we can look at those as we go forward and make sure that that's really happening.
Yeah, because I think that was one of the biggest issues, making sure the income's categorized right so you can
Right.
base your budgets upon those categories.
Linda.
Did you guys get the latest financial report where I show the spreadsheet of how I categorize each of those items based on my understanding from your recommendations?
I haven't seen that, no. If you
Okay.
have it, I probably need to take it back to the office and compare it to like on a case-by-case basis.
I think that's, I'm sorry.
Director Schomburg.
That's always been one of our problems, is that the way that things are categorized in an audit are so different from our actual financials, and so it's oftentimes really difficult to match
Yeah, it's a difference in
the two of them.
presentation, and on the financials it's more condensed.
Right.
We have a trial balance program that we use that would be probably more reflective of how detailed, you know, your internal
Right.
reports are.
So I mean, I guess at some point we just need to really make sure the whole board understands, because this always looks so different from what's really happening, even though it's giving us all the numbers, but they're broken down so differently.
I think the other piece of the audit, we do have the governance letter, which is just a communication from us to you during the course of the audit. We didn't, like Scott just mentioned, we didn't encounter any difficulties or any issues of concern during the audit. So it was a clean audit. And then what else did we bring with us besides the rep letter? So the management rep letter
Yes.
is something that we also need a board member to sign to truly finalize the audit and issue, subject to your approval of the audit. So we have those as well.
Yes.
Any further questions?
No, I don't have any.
Director Schomburg? Any further questions?
No,
Okay.
so I just was waiting for our treasurer to, because I didn't read this whole thing ahead of time. I'm okay voting, but I'd
Okay,
rather
I'd
not
like
make the
to,
motion.
I would like to make a motion, I'm sorry, I was looking at something else. I'd like to make a motion that we approve the 2017 and 2016 financial audit.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
I,
Aye. 500. Motion carried.
There's 3 signatures.
Thank you guys very much.
Thank you guys. Here's these.
Yeah.
So this one is just yours.
Will you pass that down so they can sign that?
And this one
Is
is
there 3rd signature?
All right.
All right, thank you guys again for the
All right.
opportunity.
thank
Well,
you.
thank you.
Thank you as always. All right, thank you.
Thank you. You
Have a
guys
good
have a
night.
nice
Thank you.
You
evening.
guys too.
Do we need Linda for anything else?
Hey guys.
No, because I need to look all through everything before, so no, not that I can think of. Linda, the April 15th,
It lands on a Sunday, I believe. So I was recommending that you do it on April 12th, which is a Thursday.
okay,
That one's 2017 on the one.
yeah, I'm realizing that. And what about doing it?
You can do it
Ahead of
earlier.
time.
We could just do it
You can
earlier and
Okay.
have it there, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
I just wanted to give you plenty of leeway
Okay.
or time you can do it earlier, it just has to be in there, I would say no later than.
Okay,
April
and this
12th.
one is the interest only.
Because October is the one with the
Is
principal.
interest and
Correct.
principal.
Okay.
So what will happen is October will be the same as this plus 55,000.
Our copy.
Okay.
And there's no other changes on this that change any of the other automatic payments?
No, I already did all that
Did that,
report in
okay.
November after we did the October payments.
Okay.
And you already changed that.
'Cause I think it's only set up for 6 months, isn't
I
it?
thought you did it
Through
through,
June?
October.
Maybe, I need to look at the
Okay.
computer.
Well, if it doesn't show up one month, I'll let you know,
Okay.
but my understanding is I had thought you set it up. through-
I might have, I can't remember if I set up all the way for the year or for 6 months.
Okay.
We have to look at that.
FYI, the signature for the audit won't be tonight. They're gonna email it to me because we changed seats. So they gotta put Terry, I spotted it and caught them. They're gonna put Terry's name on it and then I'll bring it around and you sign it. And then I'll sign it and I'll get it down to them.
Okay.
The big head thing.
I was gonna do that. I didn't want
Yes.
to
This is yours,
free
Lisa.
zone it.
Okay. Unfinished business.
Okay,
You wanna stay or you wanna go home?
I wanna go home.
Okay.
I need
we
to
need
go
to
to
give
bed.
her
Check.
her check.
Is it?
Thank you.
Feel better.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is this one like two signatures? I might need to pass it on. Okay. Discussion and review of parliamentary procedures. I love this.
Have a great weekend.
Bye.
You too, feel better.
Thank you. Yeah, I hope you feel better.
Oh. I was gonna say, do I have to turn it off or something?
No. You want me to go or wait a minute for?
Oh, he's just going to the restroom. I'm gonna wait a minute. That's okay with everything. What are those cute little hairs in there? Part of the design feature.
Just a design.
Very nice.
I kind of guessed grass. I'm not sure.
Is this goes to you, right?
Yeah. Yes, ma'am, this is great news, this reduction in
That's
fee.
really good
That's-
news.
That's
That's
awesome.
amazing.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Jesse, sent this back to us in record time, from what I understand. That's because we always do what we're supposed to.
Yours.
We're gonna give them a hard time. Can you,
No, that's John.
that right there, is that, one where we're billing them for a 1-inch meter instead of a 3/4?
Okay.
Okay. Can you file that in your files?
Yeah. Okay. So this one's a little more legalish because this one came from Legal Day, so it was all presented to me by an attorney, by lawyers. So it just has that more lawyer feel to it, you'll see. Okay, public's rights. So the First Amendment grants freedom of speech in a public forum, and the Brown Act declares meetings to be open and public, but limits the free speech to the subject matter jurisdiction of the legislative body. It's gotta be about water and water company business. So the Brown Act further limits public comments by meeting type. So you have the public meeting, on one side the regular meeting, so it can be, a public comment can be about any subject matter within the jurisdiction. In a special meeting, the public comments can only be about subject matter that has been described in the notice, which is something on the agenda, specifically. Okay.
Okay, question then.
Mm-hmm.
Something that's on the regular meeting doesn't have to be anything that's on the agenda?
Correct. It can be anything to do with anything that the water company has jurisdiction over.
But that's during the public
Comment.
comment
Section.
period.
Right.
They can't just interject something later on in the meeting.
They can interject all they want, as long as they're, no, they can't. We'll get to that.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you can, make public comments at any point during
Right.
a meeting, it's just that it needs, but the completely free random comments are at the public comment section.
Yeah, they can talk about anything to do with your jurisdiction in public comments. If they wanna talk during the, discussion items, they can talk at any time about that discussion
Only
item.
just that discussion item, but they can't go back to something else.
But I do have a question. Are they during a special meeting? Because my understanding was that they could still say that they could bring something up, but we can't discuss it or vote on it. Is that not correct? Like, couldn't they bring something up to be placed on the agenda for the following meeting, even if it wasn't currently on the agenda? As long as they didn't go into a
in a
lengthy
s-
discussion about
In
it?
a special meeting, I mean, if you want to give them leeway, you can, as a board. But normally, if you're in a special meeting, there isn't necessarily a public comment section. You can if you want to, but they really have to stick to agenda items.
Right.
So
Well,
anything
we've-
they bring up should already be on the agenda. If it's not specifically spelled out and you wanna add it to the agenda, of course, that's up to the board to make a.
I'm not that agenda,
Yeah.
but a following
A following
regular
agenda.
meeting agenda.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know we've done that. Sometimes somebody comes in and they don't know what a special meeting is, and they have an issue that they want to
But actually, we don't have very many special, we have two regular.
Yeah, they're not very
anymore.
often.
Yeah,
Yeah,
We have 2 regular meetings.
correct.
Okay.
Okay, so here's the Brown Act. This is where it says what I just said. Every agenda for regular meetings shall provide an opportunity for members of the public to directly address the legislative body on any item of interest to the public before or during the legislative body's consideration of that item that is within the subject matter jurisdiction of the body. There it is in writing. And then this is the special meeting one. Every notice for a special meeting shall provide opportunity for members of the public to directly address the legislative body concerning any item that has been described in the notice for the meeting during or before or during consideration of the item. Okay, public's rights.
So basically, when somebody brought up the fact they were questioning whether we were duly elected, they really didn't have the right to,
We'll go into that.
okay,
I'm hoping to answer that.
okay.
Okay. Authority is then given to the legislative body to further limit public comments by allowing it to adopt time limits for the public comment period on a given subject and for each individual speaker. So right now you limit each public comment to 5 minutes. If you wanted to, if there was a big discussion item and you wanted to, and a lot of people wanted to comment about that discussion item, you could limit it to only, as long as it doesn't go over 30 minutes total for everybody's public comments on a specific subject.
Such as like the pond.
Yes, exactly.
But you could actually shorten individual. You would just have to say that ahead of time.
You'd have to notice it ahead of time. But our bylaws give, I think it's
5
5
minutes.
minutes.
Just
Yeah.
5 minutes to each individual.
Okay, so here's where it says that the legislative body of the local agency may adopt reasonable regulations to ensure that the intent of subdivision A is carried out, including but not limited to regulations limiting the total amount of time allocated for public testimony on particular issues and for each individual speaker. Okay. Now that the limits have been established, it is time for the public to exercise their First Amendment rights. The legislative body of a local agency shall not prohibit public criticism of the policies, procedures, programs, or services of the agency, or of the acts or omissions of the legislative body. Nothing in this subdivision shall confer any privilege or protection for expression beyond that otherwise provided.
Yes, unless it's unless it's something that's federally prohibited, like
We're gonna
Like
go
if-
into that,
okay.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
which has happened here, where they bring up something that's not. It's a protected class.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
we'll see. Public comments. So what they can say, anything they want about the district, anything they want about operations, anything they want about the staff, and anything they want about the board. They can publicly criticize any aspect. It's within their First Amendment right. The staff, the board, the operations, they can actually say whatever they want. How they can say it, believe it or not, it can be offensive. Slurs and profanity, you cannot stop it.
Really?
Yes, they're allowed to do that. It will not hold up in court if you stop them from,
Wow.
because this is the attorneys that we're getting all this from. It can be accusing, it can be untrue, and it can be impolite and rude. They can heckle you, like, boo.
But that's as a group. That's talking about the board as a group. But if you attack an individual member of the board
Yes,
who is in a protected class with racial stuff, that's not okay, right? Or with
Says they can say anything
they
they want.
you are a public official serving in a public forum, in a public meeting, and you open yourself up to their freedom of speech.
Wow.
That's funny too, because if I went into the governor's speech and I made some kind of comment, they would just gavel me up and just throw me out.
Not
I've
to-
seen it on TV.
they're not
Yeah.
supposed to.
No, but I've seen them do it.
I know, but what they do when they take out the hecklers is totally illegal.
Or the president.
Yes, we won't go
That's a
there.
little more, I guess they're, so they can
Wall
interrupt
Street
you,
now.
they can make noise like or whatever, you know. They can do that.
Alright.
What they cannot do is quote unquote substantially impair the meeting. So they can't make threats against you. So they can complain all they want. They cannot make anything threat of action. And you can stop unduly repetitious or largely irrelevant speech.
So they can say
That's what you can stop.
so they can say it once or twice. They can't just keep on saying
They
it.
can't
over
go on and on and on.
Or
If
if
they've
they-
stated
okay.
it, you can move on.
Or if they start talking about something that has nothing,
Nothing
to
to
do
do
with
with the
us,
water
like
company.
Yo,
what
mama.
has happened here,
Yeah.
can be stopped.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with water company or water company business. Okay, disrupting a meeting. This is just kind of a reminder of something to think about. Deciding whether or not someone is substantially impairing a meeting cannot be content-based, as that is a violation of First Amendment rights. The decision has to be made on the action or threat of action. So, meaning you can't stop them from saying something because you don't like what they have to say or how they say it. You can stop their actions, like threats is an action. That's kind of a way to think about it. Or
Or if they're repeating,
repetitious and not
right.
stopping talking, then you're stopping the over verboseness of the person, but not what it is they're saying. So it can't be based, if that makes sense. You can't stop them based on what they're saying, just that they won't stop talking and they've gone beyond their 5 minute
minutes.
limit, and they continue to
Then you can
talk,
gavel them
and at
down.
that point you feel your meeting's impaired, because the board can't give,
So do all these rights extend to us as well?
No. Well, yeah, in
We
someone
can't,
else's
we
meeting.
can't respond in like,
no.
No, we have to behave ourselves.
You have to behave yourself.
I'm not a public official.
You're an
It's
employee.
staff
You're-
or
Staff.
I'm a staff, you know what I mean? I'm just saying that if they're saying rude things,
No, this is public meeting, not,
I'm not supposed to
daily
respond at
business.
all.
No, you're not. Sometimes, yeah,
Yeah.
sometimes
Not
you're responding,
in the public
you're
meeting.
not.
now if
Wait
you're
till you
on
get
I'm
them
talking
the
about this
outside.
meeting, like
Yeah.
when we've had people come and make crazy
This
allegations,
is a
we
public
cannot.
forum, and this is
We
where they're
shouldn't
allowed
be
to do
shutting
it.
them down.
Yeah.
Well, except for the time period, we gotta stick to
Yeah,
the
we
time
can-
period.
We
Shut
stick
them
to
down
the
with
time
the time
period, and
period.
they can't just keep going from subject to subject to
Okay.
subject.
Right.
They have 5 minutes and,
But
Alright.
when they say something that's blatantly untrue, we can't really shut it down.
I mean, you can
We
do
can
a brief
respond.
response,
right.
but, yeah.
Alright.
Okay, so some more government law. In the event,
I'm still a little confused though on, okay, if it's something that's actually okay, I understand there's free speech, but if it's something that's actually something that's like a protected class, like someone who's making comments about someone's
Race or
race,
national.
sexuality, that's not okay, right? Can't
It's
that be shut down?
offensive, but I don't think you can shut that down. If you think about a broader spectrum, people like a president, which is the most public official you can get in this country, and if you think about all the things people say and are allowed to say, I mean, they'll go from personal life to...
That's when they get the goons out and they remove them from.
Well,
That's what
the
they do,
Secret
yeah.
Service, we don't have that.
Or they pay off, oh, no.
So like sexual harassment.
Okay, so
Porn star.
I wouldn't imagine that they'd be allowed to...
Because they're not really, it really can't be considered sexual harassment because they don't have power over,
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
but they
Sexual-
do have power over
different.
the body because they're voting. I mean, I don't know, I'm a little iffy on some of the
Mhm,
lines
that
that
might be a
get
little
crossed.
bit,
Because
yeah.
they do have some power over the body because we're voted on by the public.
But if
They're
they
not
came in
one
here
individual.
and sexual harassment, that topic wouldn't necessarily...
That's
there's
not a
nothing-
water
It's
topic.
not a jurisdiction of the legislative body. They couldn't really talk about... You know what I'm
We
saying?
could
That's
get them
not
on
a
that first
jurisdiction.
page thing, right? If it's not
Right.
relevant to what we're doing.
It's not relevant to board business, public business. I mean... If they
Yeah,
say
that
you
sounds
jerk
pretty
and they move
one-sided to
on,
me.
I mean...
Yeah, but they have a way of getting around to that, like, you know, that some of the accusations they've made, they try to act like that's part of the water company business because,
Well,
well,
it's yours...
you can't have that, you know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
but we just gotta, you know, grin and bear it.
It's
That's the
yeah,
bottom
You
line.
bring it back, you
Fair,
limit
good.
it to 5
Yeah,
minutes,
fair,
and if
yeah.
they keep you from conducting board business, then you have a right to take
Yeah.
action.
I mean, I guess that's where I'm a little confused about. I mean, if they say you're allowing somebody to steal water, so you can't, that has to do with water. But if they're saying
Water.
something that has nothing to do with water, that has to do with
Say their occupation.
yeah. I mean, it's happened. That's
Right.
why I'm asking.
No,
So
see,
it's-
but it contradicts itself because that last slide, if you go back to the last slide, it says whether it's true or not. If it's totally untrue, they can still
I
say
mean,
whatever
they
they
can
want to.
accuse-
But if it's
You-
about your occupation that's not your occupation of being a board member,
That's true.
you can shut it down because it's not.
Right.
About
If
the
they
water.
It's not
say
relevant.
As a board member, you weren't duly elected.
Yeah.
They can say it all they want, whether it's true or not. If they say you're,
But they can't start talking about fraud in your personal business life or something like that, right? Because that has nothing to do with water.
And it's not because of what they're saying, it's because it doesn't have anything to do with water company business.
Right.
Okay.
So that's where we shut it
the
down.
subject, yeah, the jurisdiction.
The subject
of the
matter.
water.
I mean, sometimes it just goes off on this like crazy
It
tangent.
can,
and that's
I
why
mean,
I'm-
you're gonna have to be in the moment playing it by ear at some point.
Doesn't happen
So-
that often.
Just,
Say, what
Understand-
agenda item are you bringing
Yeah.
that up for? What part of the
what
business?
part of water company
Yeah,
business?
that's how you shut them down. You say, what does that have to do, what does it have to do with this agenda?
Yeah.
And then you shut them down.
Let's see.
We can't have pea sugar?
Slingshots.
So in the event that any meeting is willfully interrupted by a group or groups of persons as to render the orderly conduct of such meeting infeasible, an order cannot be restored by the removal of the individuals who are willfully interrupting the meeting. The members of the legislative body conducting the meeting may order the meeting room cleared and continue in session. Part B. Only matters appearing on the agenda may be considered in such a session. Representatives of the press or other news media, except those participating in the disturbance, shall be allowed to attend any session held pursuant to this section. Nothing in this section shall prohibit the legislative body from establishing a procedure for readmitting an individual or individuals not responsible or willfully disturbing the orderly conduct of the meeting. A lot of this can be more applicable, like when you have public hearings. Things like this may be more applicable if they got out of control. May not work.
So if there's just some people heckling, it's okay, but
Heckling is
if
okay.
all of a sudden the entire meeting is loud and disturbing to where you cannot conduct a meeting, you can
Right.
no longer conduct a meeting.
Clear the room.
You have the authority to clear the room. Note, if a board is going to enact their right to clear the meeting room, give multiple warnings first to the individual or group, and make sure you state clearly they are out of order and why. And that way you have a record of, please refrain, and make sure that's stated clearly, so if it ever comes up, you have.
Then it's on
A
the
record.
record.
So it's, just so you know, there's support from the penal code. Every person who, without authority of law, willfully disturbs or breaks up any assembly or meeting that is not unlawful in its character, other than assembly or meeting referred to in section 302 of the penal code, which is a religious gathering, or section 18340 of the elections code, meaning they can't stop you from getting into the meeting, is guilty of a misdemeanor. So if
This
they
has been
start
fun.
willfully, I know it's heavy, breaking up your meeting,
Mhm.
they are guilty of a misdemeanor. Is there any other questions?
I would ask a question, how are you gonna enforce that? Clear the room?
Bodily, we'll bodily
You can
throw them
call-
out.
You can call authority, you can call the sheriff's
By the
department.
time they get there.
They could already be gone, but,
No, there'd be a big argument.
oh,
Unless you called you figured there was gonna be some and you had the sheriff there before.
yeah.
But I don't
Be
think you
the
could do
only
that
way you
either,
can clear
right?
the room legally.
Yeah, you
Yes,
can.
you
You
can.
could?
Having them stand by.
Mm-hmm. You can have
Either
them on
that or
standby.
He's out the door or in the.
Sure, if it was a big public meeting and you thought that there may be people that come and express violent opinions.
I've
or
actually done
something.
that once. I talked to the sheriffs and told them we were having a big public meeting and people would, threaten to, get crazy. And they said okay, and they would have people, around.
The LA County Sheriff just did a centennial meeting.
Oh, really?
He was called in to stand by because they expected something to happen. But he was the only one that could actually clear the room. The other people could not. They said they cleared the room, but they could not clear the room.
Oh, yeah, you can't physically clear it.
Yeah, you can ask them to leave, you can tell them to get out. Only a sheriff could enforce it.
Yeah, 'cause they'd get us for assault,
Yeah,
for physically removing them.
you can do your part, but the sheriff has to. And then they're charged with, because they can't impede a meeting.
Yeah.
And then once the chaos is over, you continue your meeting
Perfect.
as before.
Well, that was very informative. Not very happy, but very
No.
informative. Thank you.
So here's so the weather, the public looks like that, or like that. Remember, thank them for attending and expressing their First Amendment rights, because they have every right to come in here and be public in a public meeting.
Awesome.
Well, thank you, Tiffany.
Thank you, Tiffany, it's great. Good job.
You're welcome.
Yes, very nice, really.
Yeah.
Thank you.
She's amazing.
She is.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay. Discussion and vote on approving an ad hoc committee to work on regional project MOUs. This is something we discussed,
We didn't have enough votes.
but we didn't have enough people to.
And as an update on MOUs, just so you know, I did email Ernest, and I'm assuming he's going to be working on that. But the main thing is we have to talk to Pam and get Pam to start pushing Scott, because they're still waiting for the list of assets that they're going to turn over to us.
So,
Director Schulman.
but this isn't,
Okay, so who was going to be on
I
this?
can't ask this question right now.
Hmm?
I can't ask the question I was gonna
Oh,
ask.
You want me to leave?
No,
Oh, no, it has nothing to do with you.
it's just, I was
You've
gonna.
heard it all.
No, I was gonna ask something that was kinda off the not,
Um,
it's out of order.
because we're not talking about Lake of the Woods. We're talking about the other general,
No, that's not what she was talking about. I just threw it out there because it's part of the ad hoc information for the MOUs.
right,
I was just giving an update
Right.
because it got skipped up above on number 7. It wasn't read out. It wasn't, you just mentioned the Sigma budget depreciation of assets, but the Lake of the Woods transfer agreement, I didn't have you go back to that, so I threw it out now because
Okay.
it's mentioned MOU, so.
right. Did, somebody was going to contact Ernest in regards to,
That's what I just talked about.
no, not Lake of the Woods.
The other people, the other well owners. In content, those would work, but I think he's gonna put it in a more legal.
So I guess that's my point of order, because I was gonna say something, but really, the only thing that this agenda item says is approving the ad hoc. It's not saying
Organizing or.
specifically like what we're talking about or anything,
So
so that's
disregard
why-
my statement.
Yeah, I started saying something too and I caught myself.
Anyway, do you guys want to create an ad hoc?
I would make a motion if I could confirm who did we say was going to be on that ad hoc committee.
We have it.
Regional project.
Who would like to be?
Yeah, that's a discussion. I mean, do we, I would even ask how many ad hocs do you think we need? Just one to do all of the private well owners and the mobile home park?
Well, just, you guys aren't gonna be handwriting all those. You're just gonna be overseeing what Ernest
In
gives
other words,
us.
you're gonna be reviewing them and going
So
over them. And
There's only gonna be really 3 different types of MOUs. There's gonna be the private well owners, there's gonna be Lake of the Woods, and there's gonna be the people with the water system that have to give up their permit. So there's gonna be 3 different types, and the ad hoc's gonna have to correspond with Ernest to get those 3 types. Well, really only 2, because they're already handling the Lake of the Woods, so it's gonna be,
Yeah, we already have an ad
it'll be
hoc for Lake of the
simplified.
Woods.
I mean, it won't be for each individual well owner, it's only gonna be, you know, like you said, a couple different types of MOUs.
Why wouldn't it be for each individual?
Well, each one's gonna sign it, but I mean, there's gonna be
Right.
no change in the content of that MOU, so you're not gonna have to individually go over each one. There's just gonna have to be a signature slapped on it with an address. And then everybody's gonna have to sign it. You won't have to ad hoc each one because
Okay.
it would be redundant.
Director Schoenberg.
Basically, it's gonna work exactly the same way the ad hoc works for the Lake of the Woods transfer agreement. It's just, instead of sending it to all of us, which they can't do, and then get comments, it's gonna go to 2 directors. Those 2 directors will pre-review stuff and then bring it to the main meeting. And if there's a necessity to meet with the,
Ernest.
with Ernest, with the lawyer, or with someone else, like I think there might be a necessity to meet with Mr. Connor, then that would happen in an ad hoc rather than in the main meeting, so that we could hammer out what the needs were.
Okay. So, do we want to approve an ad hoc?
Somebody's gotta vote, I mean, somebody's gotta volunteer for it, right? You
Yeah,
gotta-
I mean,
you
we
gotta have
talked
2 people
about doing
willing.
it, but the only issue is that I feel like, I mean, I would put that, if I was doing it ahead of some of the other things. I think the problem is that, like Director Nyman and I are already on a lot of ad hocs, so the problem is we're not doing all the, so maybe, we need to prioritize. I mean, an ad hoc can last until the business is finished, but I think we just need to maybe prioritize and not maybe change. And again, I'm out of order because that's not what is physically on the agenda. But I mean, I'm okay doing the MOUs because I already started doing it, but I would have to prioritize some of the other ones because there's no way I'm just overwhelmed right now. So it could only.
And this one,
you know,
this one kind of takes precedence.
this one takes
yeah.
precedent, so it would be
Yeah.
this over like some of the other stuff. And-
Over the Sigma and the budget and the
Correct.
depreciation of
Correct.
assets and,
Yeah.
yes. Which
So
we
I'm
aren't
I'm-
getting to.
Right, so I'm willing with the notion that I would not be, that I would be prioritizing and maybe not working on the other ones that I've already, that those are gonna stretch out even longer.
Okay,
Because I'm already working on the Lake of the Woods, so I have an idea of
I
how to
would
do
be
it.
willing to assist if,
okay, even with knowing your surgery's coming up.
well,
and-
see, that's the only thing. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, how long are you gonna be laid up for? I mean, you can still read an email probably, other than the day or two during the surgery, right?
Yeah, but I just don't know
How
the
long are you gonna be in the hospital, do you know?
few days, couple days. But, you know, who knows how the
Yeah,
recovery's
that's
gonna
kind
be.
of,
I mean-
that's kind of a delicate, what is it? Your
They're
back or
taking-
neck?
yeah, neck, they're taking out a disc, so, you know, I could be like not up
That's
for
crazy.
going through that
Are you gonna
time.
get shorter?
I've already
Get
gotten
paralyzed.
shorter.
Dr. Schoenberg.
I think we could solve that if we wanted, if the two of us were gonna do it by having an alternate, that if drops out due to health reasons, that we would already have it in place.
Yeah, I'm tied up now, but I think in April I might be looking different.
Okay.
Yeah, and later on in the year, I'll be freed up to do
Yeah,
something
you'll
longer.
be
Oh, you'll
Wow.
be free, you'll be
signing a lot of
golden.
checks, buddy.
You'll be
You'll
golden.
be local.
Well, that's the thing, I'm off the hill so much,
Yeah.
I don't like to do that, but, you know, later on, I'll have to, because
Yeah.
we've got so much stuff going on that. Yeah,
Okay, so
we'll just spread the wealth.
So I'm willing to join the ad hoc committee, but if I find that I can't do it on, then Rebecca will fill in.
Okay, so who makes the motion?
Somebody other than us, and it needs to be voted on other than the two of
It'd
us.
have to be Jerry.
Yeah, I guess I'll move that, we approve an ad hoc committee to work on the regional project MOUs.
okay,
I will second it.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Wait, we're not,
Oh,
You
no,
can't,
I have
so
to
that's
abstain.
abstain.
and because
Okay.
you're not physically on it yet, I guess it's not as
Right.
big of a deal that you abstain.
Right.
Yes.
Right?
Okay,
You know how
motion
fraudulent I
carried
am.
3-0.
Two abstentions, yeah.
Can I just say, as a discussion to that motion, that I think if Director Gibson ends up being on the ad hoc, that we just visit the motion to make sure
Sure.
that the vote, you know.
Okay,
Keep me on the up and up.
yeah.
Okay, let's move on.
Discussion and vote on forming an ad hoc committee to
Enough.
research the banking options. And do you want to explain more of that?
Well, I just personally think that I don't care who does it, but I think we need to get working on like Director Schoenberg has said, you know, finding something that's going to give us a little bit more interest and also be FDIC insured, you know, having another at least one of our accounts, you know, if not two, at least one of them where we're going to move at least $200,000 into something to make sure that we're covered. Because I feel like we have all our eggs in one basket, and I just don't feel that I just don't trust the banking system, whether it's a small bank or it's a large bank, and you know, with all the stuff going on all the time, and you know, they're still doing derivatives and different things in this world. I just think we need to protect the community, and I think we need to protect ourselves as the water company.
Johnny?
I think everybody's on board with that. I've heard all you say that that's a good idea. It's just somebody's got to have the time to do it. because we keep on creating ad hocs, but everybody's busy and swamped and nothing's getting done, but we continue to carry it over on the agenda, so we need somebody that can say, yeah, I can do it, and then get it done, because you guys are all busy, you're swamped.
Director Schomburg.
I don't know how much of an ad hoc we really need to do on that. I think because it's also number 13 on the agenda, I mean, we're obviously not going to vote on it right now, but I think if we just put it on the agenda for discussion and each director at the meeting brought up, like if we were all willing, rather than do an ad hoc, if we were all willing to, because I already know a couple suggestions, so, and I know what the interest rate is, and I know how easy it is to do it. So I think if we were able to just bring that up at each meeting, and then, you know, once we have enough on the, you know, enough notes on the different possibilities that we can just make a vote, I don't think we need to have an ad hoc for that.
I agree.
I have one question for you guys. Would it be, I know nothing about it, but would it be advisable to have somebody that actually does this for a living come in and give you options, or would
Like
you
a
guys just do it
financial
on your
advisor?
own? Yeah, like, you know, E.F. Hutton
No.
type of deal or something.
No, because
No?
that's what we I'm sorry.
It's just-
Director Schomburg.
Okay, what we don't want are the E.F. Hutton things, because this is public money. All we're doing is moving money into a completely safe account. We're not investing, we're not doing any of that stuff with the public's money where we could lose stuff. There are already, and it's pretty easy to find
Money
them.
markets.
Yeah, I know of, it's usually CDs, because you need to just leave something in for a while. So we're not doing bonds, so I think that's just kind of a waste of time, because the people that normally do that for a living are trying to make money off of you, and they're trying to push you into
Bonds or stocks or
things
Yeah.
that we don't want to do.
Right.
So I would discourage that. I would like to see the discussion vote on forming an ad hoc drop off of the agenda. Bring in, I mean, I will mention a couple things on this next item, and then I think we just need to keep mentioning a few things for like another meeting or so, and then I think we need to make a decision to go ahead and move stuff, and then the treasurer and the two of us who do the banking online can move, once we have approval, can move that money easily electronically. So.
As I'm
Director
I'm
Garcia.
kind of in the same boat. I have some investments in a 401k, and now that I'm retiring, I want to ensure that it's out of the market, which does this. But the financial advisor who's in charge of my, 401k, they really don't give you advice. They just tell you what's out there. I mean, I guess they can't give you advice. Do this, do that. But when I asked about the CD and the money market accounts, they're like nothing, And so I kind of pricked my ears up when he said something about the ones he mentioned.
CDARS.
But what were you thinking, Johnny, about having somebody, a professional come in? Do you know anyone that's in financial services?
All I know is that when I go to the optometrist, when I started looking into the 401k and that there's a company down there. I just thought that somebody that's in the business would be able to, not as a continuing financial advisor, but maybe somebody just to come in and say, look, these are your options. This is what is. But that was just a thought.
Yeah, unless that they were a friend or something, it would be a professional. Visit.
Yeah, I think that
Director Nyman.
I think that what Lisa is saying, because really we're not really talking about investing. We're talking about getting maybe into a CD
At another institution.
At another institution, so that it is federally insured for the same amount. Because if everything is at one institution, you're only covered for $250,000. So if they went belly up, we'd be waiting in line for whatever assets they were able to, when they came in and took control of the bank, we'd have to be waiting for and we could lose that money.
So point of order, this is all the next item.
Oh.
So can we just decide whether or not we want an ad hoc right now?
I'll take a motion, somebody make a motion
I make a motion that we drop
I
this.
don't think we need a motion to
Motion.
drop it, we just drop it off the agenda.
Yeah.
The
Is
motion
everyone
would
in
only be if
agreement?
we're gonna
Yes.
make an ad hoc.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll drop
Okay.
it from the,
Let's drop it. That's gone.
Okay,
Okay, 13.
now.
Discussion and vote
We're
on
gonna
changes,
talk.
options
Right.
for district banking.
You were
So-
talking
so-
about dropping the safe deposit box and
Yeah, so
should I
here,
put it on.
here's some ideas that I have. So one of the ideas is, it doesn't have to be this bank, but there are banks like Barclays, there are online banks. Those online banks actually pay a greater interest on a safe FDIC insured CD. And it's like at 1.5, or some of them are all the way up to like 2, you know, they're different amounts, but they're considerably higher than the 0.01 or whatever we're getting
yeah,
right
we're
now.
getting actually
And a
nothing.
lot of the
0.06.
yeah, a lot of the bigger banks are
I mean,
very very
$128
low.
on
Like
$1 million.
$800,000. Come on.
like
give me
I
a break.
but that's pretty normal right now, because if you look at Chase, if you look at Bank of America, if you look at some of the bigger banks, they're paying almost nothing on CDs and stuff. Whereas some of these online banks that are still FDIC insured, the only issue is the transfer of that money, and I think somebody would need to like find out how that works, because I know for like, you know, $5,000 or something, it's one thing, but to transfer 200,000, we would just need to make sure that that's in that transfer that it's covered. So I don't know how that works exactly, because that's an awful lot of money to be transferring it online at one time. I think there's some like fraud prevention measures that they use, but that's the part I don't know about for big. I mean, I don't have big sums of money that I personally transfer, so I don't know.
Wouldn't they handle the transfer themselves, the online bank that you go to? It's like when I changed banks before, I mean, it wasn't much money, but I mean, I went to the new bank, they had me fill out the form saying the transfer was okay, and then they precipitated the transfer themselves on their stuff.
Yeah, I mean the online banks work. You just do it online, so it may be that, but they may also have someone who you talk to that's like a customer service person. So probably we would just need to figure out the highest amount and then talk to their customer service people and see how it works. But there's a number of online banks, and then we were also talking about just getting rid of the safe deposit box, or there are some banks that have free safe deposit boxes. So it just depends on. But right now we have so little in the safe deposit box, and it's only like $90 or something like that.
Yeah,
but it's still.
I would say still, I think just buy a fire safe and put have Lisa particularly go through the fire safe we got in here and all the stuff that she deems irreplaceable, because she's the one that knows what's in there. Move that into a fire safe, and Tiffany's move it into a bigger safe than the one we bought in there. And then just, because nobody's going to the safety deposit box to put things in or take things out, so it's a waste of money.
Director Garcia.
Yeah, in some of my research, that's where I came up with 0.06%. And then there's other banks that, get 15 times that, and he's thinking, oh man, you get some money, but 15 times 0.06 is 0.09. You know, so it's still less than 1%. But
if you
all
look
that, let me finish. If you do the math on $200,000, that's $1,800 at 0.09.
Not $100.
Yeah, yes, not 127.
Right. Well, and the other issue, even if we went to a big bank, anyhow, we're still getting that coverage of the FDIC.
That's what I'm saying.
So
So you
that's
have banks with $200 each, or up
Right.
$245,000 or $249,000 in each one of them. You know, we're making a couple grand a year on them.
Yeah.
Smart.
See, I don't know
Or
about
more.
banking because we bank at Lockheed.
That's a saving. That's a
It's-
credit union.
It's a
And
credit
credit unions
union.
pay
so-
more. They
Well,
pay
that's
more.
what I'm saying. Yeah, they do. So
Do
that's
they have
why.
FDIC
Yes.
credit unions?
Oh,
Some
yes.
of them do. Most of them do now.
So yeah, I
They
think
used to.
if we all just kind of like you said, everyone start looking around, see what they can find out, bring that information back to the board meeting, then maybe we can find our own answer to our question.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I just would like to see us do that and do that soon, because I just,
You know, if you look at
You know anything
Lockheed
about
Credit
that
Union, Terry, you look
I don't have any
Lockheed
information.
Credit Union.
Oh,
and,
absolutely.
Good.
You know, and we
research.
all, look at our, what did we come up with?
I have a suggestion. Tiffany is excellent at research. Maybe she could just pull together a few ideas of different banks.
In her
and
spare
stuff
time?
And present
Yeah,
them.
I did. The look on her
I can
face was
join with
kind
all
of like,
the-
what?
I don't
No,
wanna
no,
throw
I
her
can-
under the bus, but she's really good. She's quicker at it than say I am, because she's just good at it. She gets on there, she looks at it, and she can present us with the options.
Along
She's
with
just
them,
quietly
I can-
amazing all the time.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
So,
I
my,
second that motion. Oh,
my
Yeah.
phone's not working, but I can definitely suggest Barclays US. I know that they're at like 1.5. I saw that the other day.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so,
Nice.
and so is, what you can do is there's I think it's bizrate.com or one of those that you can actually compare the different rates
Daily.
of what CDs, and you also want to look at whether it compounds daily or it compounds monthly or it compounds yearly.
Okay.
Busy rate or biz rate?
I think it's
BizRate.
BizRate. I know they compare mortgage rates, but they may also compare
What was the other one you said? Barclays what?
Barclays US. I just saw the other day, and it's like 1.50, I think, or 1.25. It's over 1 point, and that's a FDIC CD. It's just a regular CD.
That'd be a lot of
and you
money. That'd
can-
be a lot of money.
It's a lot more than what we're getting now, and it's still FDIC insured. I don't know, they're only an online bank, I think. So there's some that are only online, and there's some that are online and you can go in, and then
Brick and mortar.
yeah, and a lot of them have. I think what we want to look at is CDs and money markets, but the money markets need to be a insured money market where they're not actually, where you never lose the principal or the interest.
Right.
So it can't be the ones where they're investing in.
Not to keep drawing this out, but I have a question. So if you do that, if you get a CD from Barclays, do we need to find 3 others or 2 others? So because
Yes.
I'm assuming we're
Oh, yeah,
gonna need
we
2
want
or 3,
yeah,
right?
no, we want to get
And,
more than
and
one.
since it's
so we
per
can,
entity, it can't be per CD. It's per entity that's
Correct.
FDIC covered. So
Right.
we're gonna need
Right.
Right,
2
so
or
what
3.
I'm suggesting is we find like 3 of the highest paying, and it may change periodically, but we find 3 of the highest paying ones. We keep under 250,000 in each one unless they have the thing for 500,000, which I
Nice
don't know
to
how
find
that
all
works.
those.
And that we, and that we only put in our actual accounts that are currently the money market accounts that don't get touched. So the current money market accounts are the
General
ones,
fund,
huh?
that one general fund. Prior
Yeah,
to-
so,
That was
well,
like
general
200
fund we touch, so that we might not be able to do. So it depends on, we would have to have a discussion on, but like our emergency reserve, that's never getting touched unless it's an emergency, right? So we could do it with that, but the more likely ones would be like the USDA Reserve Loan 1, that's 71,000. So the USDA Reserve Loan 2, that's 47,000. USDA Replacement Fund, which we are going to touch, so maybe we wouldn't want to do that. But at least the 2 reserves of the loans, that those are just reserves that sit there to make money and
That's what,
Tell the-
130,000 or something?
yeah, so those could both go at one bank, right? But we could actually put those reserve funds in a place where it's
They're making a couple dollars.
making a few dollars and we can even move stuff out of it because we only have to have a certain amount for the USDA. We could then move, if it's making enough, we can move that to the revenue operating fund if it surpasses the guarantee that we have to have for the USDA. So something like that, and it could be like one that we know we're not touching, like the contingency fund. We don't really touch the contingency fund. That's 285, so we would have to. But maybe we don't put in. Maybe we drop the contingency fund to 250 or something, and then we. But no, that wouldn't work because it's going to make money and it'd be surpass the FDIC. So we'd have to figure out.
Or you're going to put 225 and leave that one account with the as having some change, 60,000 in one account here that we could easily access.
Right. So that you could do with like the emergency reserve.
Make it work for us.
So anyway, that's kind of what I'm proposing is that we take something that has under $250,000 right now and spread it over a couple of different banks, and that way we're not only FDIC insured, but that we are making a greater amount of interest on them, which is for the town. It's like instead of just not, and it's still completely safe, not gambling with the town's money, but just putting them in safer accounts that make a little bit more money.
Sounds good to me.
14.
Okay,
So
now,
Tiffany's you're gonna come up with some stuff, and
I will
And I'll
work
bring
with
some
it
more
and
ideas.
report
next time too.
what meeting the next first regular,
Yeah.
April.
Yeah.
and that'd be-
Rural Mississippi. Mississippi.
okay. Keep going.
I'd like to
Put a
move.
hand up here.
I'd like to move that we skip the break and keep going.
I'll second it.
Okay,
I
5-0-0.
Oh, wait.
Aye.
Discussion on sending the billing clerk to the RVS training. Which is here.
Tiffany, I believe, did the research, but it's the same thing we sent Tiffany to for the RBS. I 100% think that we would benefit from having Cassandra go as well. We're still, as you know from signing that check earlier, there's still things that prior billing clerks have done that they probably thought they were doing the right thing, but they never had any formal training. So I think that's why we need to send her to this training.
The Texas, Arkansas, or Mississippi one?
She's going Mississippi because the dates and
Yeah.
Nothing closer.
That's
No,
what I was looking,
Texas,
I'm
huh?
like,
I went to Texas. They only do
Yeah.
them around that area because that's where the company's based.
Yeah.
So this would be just sending Cassandra.
Just
Cassandra.
1,600, right?
That's her. Yeah, she did the work. That's her
Plus
estimate.
meals.
And it, like, it is just an estimate, because, this far in advance, we ought to be able to get some good airfares and stuff like that.
Yeah, I would think we should get better
At least
rates.
some, so
There should be
it'll be
something,
all right.
so.
Yeah, I asked Tiffany if she benefited, and she feels like she did, and it's really Tiffany and Cassandra. Like, Tiffany's gonna be watching the desk while Cassandra's gone, so it's a worthwhile training.
How long is it?
2 days.
2 days, but you gotta go,
So it should be probably be
the
gone
day prior,
prior, and then wouldn't
And
fly
then-
home until the day after.
until the day after, probably, yeah.
Probably.
Because when you get done with the thing, you probably ain't gonna have time to rush to the
Right.
airport, but, we'll work all that out.
Was it how many nights in the hotel?
She didn't put down how many.
She didn't, but I'm guessing from a 2 day, it's gonna be at least,
3.
yeah, probably 3 nights in the motel.
Yeah, 3
depending on
nights.
when the flight out is. I know that when I went to Oklahoma for my uncle, by the time you get down at 4 or 5 in the afternoon, you don't have time to get a flight back, because they don't fly in all night long.
Yeah.
Well, we'll look at that and see what it is.
How much is the hotel a night?
Well, we don't, that's why this is all estimated.
I was just estimating.
Yeah, I think she looked at their recommended. No, it's a Holiday Inn is the one that they recommended. That's close to the conference center.
Mm-hmm.
So she looked at that and then multiplied it for 50. I think it was somewhere close to 110 a night. Because I was looking at it with her. I think it's 110 a night for the hotel. So that looks like 4
That looks like
nights.
4 nights. I mean,
Maybe
it
with
seems
some
to
tax.
me that
Director
Well-
has her hand up.
I move that we go ahead and send her. I mean, she's the billing clerk. We use RVS. The more she knows about the software, they don't come out here and train, or
I
if they
second
do,
it.
we have to pay. So yes, so I move that we go ahead and send the billing clerk. With a second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I
Aye.
And of course, we
500.
should just look to see what we can,
And just do the best we
Well,
can.
Right.
just so you know, that everybody who's done on training is proven to be very trustworthy in that. And-
no,
and
I,
we'll narrow it down as good as we can. And
right, yeah, I mean, you know. I don't think we need 4 nights though for a hotel, hopefully.
Didn't
As
we
long as
decide
it's-
15 already?
I mean,
It depends on the airport and how they
Talk
run
about
the
15
flights.
Flights,
Yeah,
yeah.
15.
But if they run flights out
It's done.
Yeah, we.
that night, I mean, depending on, it would just depend on the flights out.
Right,
Cause I think I know we got out at 4, and they literally refused to hand you your certificate of completion till 4. And then whatever drive time back to the airport,
right.
in time,
Yeah.
a couple hours for the flight, so if they run them that late and she can do it, then,
And
Yeah.
one thing we may have to do is, hey, I'm not sure how we're gonna go about paying for the motel
that's what she was
and
asking.
the car,
Right.
because usually the
She
credit
doesn't
card
have a car.
has to be there and she doesn't have a card, so we may have to figure out what it's gonna cost and cut a check to her prior to the trip. So she would actually have money to pay for these things, so we'll get a definitive pricing, we'll get everything definitive prior to her leaving, and then you guys will decide how we're gonna go about paying for it. Cause one time Greg tried to send me to training in Visalia.
But don't they require a credit card for?
That's what I'm saying. So if we have to, when Greg sent me, they wanted the card that was reserved. It was reserved on. He reserved it from here, and when I got up there, I had to spend my own money that I didn't have on my card. So if that's going to be the case, we'll just make sure she has the money prior to her going. We'll have the reservations and the costs and everything, and then she'll have to put it in her account to use her card.
Well, don't they have, I know I've done this with my daughter years ago, but where you could put money on like a debit card kind of thing, and it's a debit credit card, and you just put money on it, and then.
Well, that'd roughly be the same thing. Yeah, I'm relatively certain I'm going to be able to handle it from here with my credit card by talking to them, explaining it. I'm just saying that may be an option that we have to do. We'll
Okay.
know before she leaves.
All right, well, we approved it.
So,
Or did you say all in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It was 500.
we can table number 15 too, by the way.
Already discussed it.
You wanna table the repair on the truck?
Yeah, because we already decided that it's cheaper to turn it to insurance.
Okay, well, at least.
Well, did we
least-
decide that?
Yeah,
Well,
because
we
he said
didn't know-
$500, and you guys
deductible.
said it's gonna, and we all know it's gonna be way more than $500, so
Okay.
table.
Okay. Review and approve the minutes. Look over minutes.
I didn't look at them thoroughly enough. I looked at them, but someone else might want to do it and just.
I went
go
over the
into
one for
wording.
February 8th. I found something on page 2 at the bottom of the page. And that's all at the last regular meeting, a vote will be added, right? Okay, that's all I found. Congratulations, Tiffany.
So you wanna make a motion?
I will make a motion that we accept the minutes for February 8th, 2018.
If you look at page 5, that's our usual wording on those minutes.
With the amendment mentioned and the possibility for additional amendments for typos or other errors that may be needed to be corrected.
All in favor?
No, I second it.
Oh. Now all in favor?
Aye.
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 And one, because you weren't here on the February
Garcia was absent, so he abstains.
8th? Yeah, I thought it was
So
the
it's 4-0-1
401.
abstention.
Yeah. But I thought it was the 22nd one that he was gone.
That's the one I was gone at.
Okay. Yeah, it says it right there.
Did you read the 22nd anyway, even if you weren't there?
I didn't find anything in
Okay.
it, but I wasn't here.
Yeah.
But no, I didn't find anything different.
Did you read the whole thing, Brian?
I did.
No, Brian.
Bull.
You can't move to do it if you weren't here.
Waiting for Bull.
I know.
I know, I'm
Perusing?
perusing. Yeah, I don't see anything. I make a motion that we approve the minutes for February 22nd, 2018, with the ability to change any typos or errors found.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I
Aye.
abstain.
401.
Okay.
Okay. Discussion on future item agendas?
Or agenda items?
Agenda items?
Just one question of clarification. So on the ad hocs, do you want to leave them as they are? Do you want me to pull any off of there? The budget,
I mean, we need to
Little
approve the
maybe.
budget. We haven't really,
you did approve it,
we approved it based on,
but do you need it as an
Well-
ad hoc? Do you need it as an agenda item?
no, we don't need it
The
as
ad hoc,
anymore.
no, the ad hoc can remain, we just don't need, because we need to go over the changes based on what they said, but I don't really see that they said any change, I mean, I think I think there needs to be an ad hoc, I don't think that it needs to be immediate, because the budget did get approved.
Yeah, I'm just saying, if you want any removed off the ad hoc list.
I wouldn't remove them off the list of ad hocs, I would just remove them off the report for now. Can you put them back on in a couple months? Because
You mean the agenda?
I mean,
Just
I mean,
remove them
off
from the agenda?
Yeah, for now.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying for the agenda.
Yeah.
I can pull them
Yeah, we
off.
can just bring it up. at
Because
the next-
Keep it a
Sigma
note,
still
keep a
exists,
note.
but I don't really see that we're necessarily.
I know.
We gotta move on it right now.
Right.
They just had a big water meeting in Bakersfield the other day.
Can't you say just add, you don't need to list each ad hoc, can't you say ad hoc reports and then
I don't
whatever
have to
ad
list
hoc?
them, but you guys wanted me to list them a while ago, and that's
I know,
what
but I think rather than list them all, we can just
Just go back
have
to
a
ad
spot
hoc
for ad
reports.
hoc reports and then,
Hopefully you remember.
As a
that.
space, kind of a space saver on the agenda.
well, just so that if, instead of saying no, nothing was done on that, if we haven't done anything, we can just say if we have done something.
Okay.
That was my question.
Okay, I move we adjourn.
I second it.
All those
All
in
in
favor?
favor?
Aye.
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 500.